Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is your host, Neil Howe, but today we have a very special guest host. Her name is Shireen Richter, all the way from South Africa. Shireen is a laughter professor in South Africa, and she is putting together a book called Expert Mavericks, and she's interviewing some high-profile people from South Africa who have a lot to share in regards to what it is to be successful and what you need to do to have success and happiness in your life. So really looking forward to hearing those South African accents and hearing from all these guest experts that she is going to interview. So take it away, Shireen.
Welcome to the next interview of Expert Mavericks. I'm Shireen Richter, laughter and happiness professor and interviewer for today. Today, one of our amazing mavericks is a gentleman by the name of Anthony Goodman. Anthony is the CEO of AG Mobile. AG Mobile has the first original design manufacturer of a mobile phone in Africa. It is the first company to launch an own branded cell phone with its own hardware devices and currently own 12% of the South African cell phone market, with a growing presence in 9 other countries. Anthony is a true maverick who has had an incredible journey, and he will be sharing all of his experiences and wisdom with us today. Hi, Anthony.
Hi, Shireen. Thanks very much.
Anthony, can you tell me, what does the term expert maverick mean to you?
Okay, so thinking about an expert maverick is someone who's taken opportunities and developed business from opportunities that most others can't or haven't done. And for me, it's not so much so the thought of an idea. It's actually how I explain it is lots of people come up with lots of ideas. The difference between that and someone who turns out to be an expert maverick are those who actually execute the ideas, take the time, effort, and energy, and put that together with the idea in creation of a business and hopefully something that can grow into the future. So it's not so much so the ideas, but it's actually the hard work behind the ideas, which is what creates a business and in turn someone who's an expert maverick.
Were you always a maverick? So, you have kids who are mavericks from when they were young boys. Was there something that happened that drove you to be passionate about what you're doing now or another business? Was there a turning point that created you into a maverick, or were you always a maverick? Were you born that way?
I truly think I was born that way. I think it's something that's difficult to teach. So, there's certain skills that are teachable, and maverick stroke entrepreneurship skills are very difficult to teach. I think they're innate. I think people are really born with them. They have to then hone those skills, but typically they're born with them. So from a kid, I used to sell things in primary school to children. I used to always think about opportunities of how to make money. So from as early as I can remember, I was trying to buy and sell things. And having a poor upbringing, the bottom line was I knew I had a skill set in that my skill set was mainly selling at that point, and that I could actually take certain products and sell them to people, and wherever I was trying to sell something to someone, and that was from an absolute early age. So just the skill set, thank God, I was born with, and I've developed over time.
Do you think the fact that you mentioned you had a poor upbringing or maybe a difficult upbringing, do you think that drove your passion to be successful much more? Was that part of the reason? Or do you think it's just something you just always wanted to be? Did you always believe in yourself? Did you always believe you could do something special?
I think there's a bit of both. I always had absolute self-belief. So I never really enjoyed school and studying, but I realized that I just deeply believed that I would create a success, a holistic success in my life. And I never, ever doubted that. So the hard upbringing was definitely a driving force, because you never want to be in those situations, or you're preventative of obviously going back to any of those situations. So it definitely catapults you and makes you hungrier. But I don't know if circumstances were different, if things would be different. It's an interesting thing that I often think about, but don't know the answer. So I don't know if my successes would be different. I just know that my thoughts probably would have been different about it.
Was there a particular person that you looked up to or influenced you as a mentor when you first started? Or was it a journey that you undertook on your own? Some people utilize mentors a lot, and other people have their own driving force and go on their own journey. For somebody who is wanting to get out of a difficult life situation and does have belief in themselves, what is your suggestion? Is it good to have a mentor?
I must be honest, I was very much a lone soldier, so no mentorship at all. So self-created ideas and belief. I was more driven by the not want-to-be's than the want-to-be's. And that was the thing that drove me. So all of the negativity that I endured was the thing that actually drove me forward. So I think it would be fantastic to have a mentor, and I think there's a huge amount of benefit in having mentorship. But my life didn't pan out with mentorship. Having said that, I'd like to be a mentor for others, so that they don't. The pitfalls that you can foresee as a mentor, you can obviously guide one who's looking to be a entrepreneur past those pitfalls. So now my particular life journey has been unmentored and driven by more taking the situation of negativity and turning it into positivity.
Which is absolutely incredible, because when you've got no one to learn from and you're just on your own journey, making your mistakes and learning from them, it makes the road so much harder. So your success is even bolder because of that. Tell us about AG Mobile. Tell us what you have managed to create out of nothing. You really have done some insanely amazing things. Tell us about that.
So thanks for that. I actually, the start of me selling cell phones was in the start of when the cell phone business actually started. So, which was around about 1994, 95. And it was a stumbled upon thing. I actually used to work in the evenings for an estate agent canvassing for properties, because I had the ability, as I said, to be able to sell things to people. So while I was at the estate agency, I would not only canvass properties, but I would sell weird and wonderful things to the agents. And one of the questions I was asked there was, you sell everything, do you think you could sell my cell phone? By one of the people who worked there, which I did. And it was an interesting one, because I sold this first cell phone of mine by advertising in the Star Classified. Anything under 1,000 Rand in the miscellaneous was free. So I advertised at $9.99, and I created a demand by people phoning me. And I realized that there was a lot of people phoning me. Therefore, there's something to be done in this business of buying phones. And in those days, the only phones, well, there were no phones available, which is, the first phone I sold was a used phone, and I built a business in the used phone business for about 10 years, which started off as that one phone, and I built that into I was the largest importer and distributor of used phones in South Africa and Africa.
So that really made phones affordable to Africa, who potentially didn't have money or couldn't afford really expensive phones? Or was it more to fulfill the need that there just weren't phones?
Yeah, it was more actually the demand for phones was higher than the supply. So whether the phones were new or used, there was just an extreme demand for hardware. The manufacturers at that time were not producing nearly enough phones to cover the market's demand. So any phone that came through the market in terms of a second-hand phone, there was a high demand for it. Simply because there wasn't enough supply. So I did a lot of sales of second-hand phones in those days, and continued in that business till around about 2004, 2005. So almost 10 years in that business, building our business in South Africa by buying phones out of Europe, mainly because all of the phones that were traded in were mainly out of Europe. And afterwards, when I say afterwards, at a point in time, the market shifted more into the East. That's where I spent quite a bit of my time, Hong Kong and China, where I then stumbled upon people manufacturing cell phones for the first time. So that was people who were still computer manufacturing companies, but who started to design and develop mobile phones. And at that point, I decided to take a bold step out of the used phone market and into the new phone market by creating my own brand of mobile phone called AG Mobile.
And that must have been pretty scary because no one had done something like that in South Africa.
Yeah, I actually thought, because I was in the mobile phone business before, that it would make it something that I knew or understood or able to be able to do this in a business called AG. But the truth was that I may as well have been selling newspaper, because the previous market I sold into was informal, and in creating my own brand of phones, I decided to try to become a formalized supply chain in South Africa, which meant I was supplying the large retailers and network operators who had never heard of me before, though I'd been selling second-hand cell phones successfully for 10 years. It was two totally different marketplaces. So the breaking into that market was exceptionally challenging, in that there were only a handful of big manufacturers at the time, all world known brands. So there's not a lot of mobile phone brands, as everyone knows. It's controlled by a handful of people who are international brands, not local brands. And it had never been seen. And the honest truth is, people said it was impossible and insane.
Sounds impossible and insane, even just thinking about it, because people are quite brand loyal to their phones or to their electronic devices. So to break in was incredibly maverick, to think you could put your name to a phone and people would love it or buy it.
I didn't know the answer. I assumed it could be done, but I wasn't even 100% sure or convinced that it could be done, but I did it anyway. And I pursued the entry into the market using local celebrities to give the phone some sort of aspirational desire. Given that AG wasn't a brand of phone, they could associate with the local celebrities and artists, including some content which made the phones exciting. And so it still remained exceptionally difficult, but that was a decent stepping stone into being able to present ourselves not just as an absolute unknown brand.
So I was recently this week at the launch of your magnificent red new AG cell phone that you did launch with a celebrity. And people look at that and they look at your success and go, wow. But they don't realize the stumbling blocks. Were there any particular stumbling blocks that you encountered that people could potentially learn from when they're going through struggles? It couldn't have been all easy. People look at successful people and go, oh, it's so easy for them. They can do this now. They've got the contacts. They know everyone. But it's not always like that. And people don't know the journey that one goes through. Is there anything that stands out for you along this journey that maybe you didn't feel so positive and maybe didn't keep you so upbeat, and you learned something powerful from that you could share?
The truth is, the entire journey has been actually exceptionally difficult. So having said we're creating certain successes at the moment, we are, but there's always challenges along this road of entrepreneurship, growth, and entry into a very, very competitive marketplace. So where the interview would take too many hours for me to tell you all the difficulties that we've been through, from over trading grossly, trying to understand how financial institutions think and understand the business that we're in, which they don't understand and don't back, and trying to get into retailers and network operators when you absolutely have zero brand recognition, as well as trying to grow a business where you're unfunded, unknown, and you're running an operating overhead with the only thing that you have is belief. So you just are, we sat grinding away day by day, hoping that there'd be traction on this, because so much time, effort, energy, and money went behind this. So it really is no jokes, a duck or no dinner business, because there's no sort of half successful cell phone brand. You're either in the business or you're out of the business. And we've had exceptionally difficult challenges in terms of this business to endure over a lot of periods of time. I can honestly say I didn't sleep properly for around about 5 years minimum, and I can't explain 5 years of not sleeping, but
yes.
it's a lot. It's a lot in terms of the business world that only when you're in it you'd understand it. And there's a fine line between hitting the wall very hard and getting over the hump to the next part where you can actually continue to trade. So we've traded on the edge for a very long time, and we're lucky enough now to have gained the traction of the marketplace over this period of time.
I think that's really what would define you as a maverick. Mavericks do things that haven't been done, and that's hard. And that takes perseverance and courage and determination not to give up, because I'm sure there were times when you were overwhelmed and felt maybe I should give up. Have you got mantras that help you live life, mantras you could share that help you stay positive or keep you going? What goes through your head when you're feeling like, what am I going to do? I can't sleep. What's going to happen tomorrow?
I have had certain mantras that I've been saying for a long time. One of the first books I read, I can't remember its name. I think it was called Positive Thinking. I'm not 100% sure, but I read a mantra that said, every day in every way things get better and better. I've been saying that for like around 20 years now.
That's beautiful.
And then together with that, so I train every day, and in my mind I say mantras which are all part of being positive. I say I'm happy, healthy, and strong. I'm positive, and I'm self-worthy. So
do you think exercise and saying the mantras together help you keep physically and emotionally strong?
I think it's something that I can't exactly say when I say works or doesn't work. It's just, instead of having a blank mind when you're training, I'd prefer to have mantras going through my head. So I think the more you say things, the more they actually resonate. So I'm quite sure that over the last 20 years that I've been saying things in my mind, it's definitely come out that it's driven my life in the direction of positivity. So I'm always erring to positivity. Those particular mantras I say every day, and I'm quite convinced that these particular things keep me on this path that I'm on in terms of a positive path.
And along this path, were there certain people that helped you? Were there people that encouraged you or supported you? Was there anyone that stood out, either physically or just that you looked up to, somebody in the world? People say the Dalai Lama, people have got different role models that they look to or get guidance from. Was there anyone? Did you have anyone in your life, someone special that helped you through this journey? Or were you just a lone maverick that...
No, I've been blessed to have good people in my life, whether they, are able to truly help you through the journey or not. The support that you get from them helps you nonetheless. So, I've had good positive forces in my life. My mom, my dad, though the struggles are still independent struggles, because often when you're struggling through something and the only thing that will help you is a massive check, they can't write you the check, but they can listen to you in terms of the struggles that you're going through, and offer you the support in terms of letting you know that if you continue to persevere. I used to be told, especially by my mom, that if there's one person who can do it, it's you. So there's definitely a strength in that. I've had some unbelievable friends in my life that have been my lifelong friends, who've know everything that I've been through and have been a support through my journey and my career, along with the various different girlfriends that I have, different ones over time. They've been part of my life and a big part of my growth through the business world, because it's difficult to sleep next to someone who doesn't sleep, and someone who's more or less working all day, every day. So I must say, no one who could have solved my problems, but a lot of people who aided me and gave me support, which is invaluable.
So for people on a journey, it definitely helps to have somebody as a sounding board, someone to be compassionate, someone to listen to just hear you. Of all the things that you've done, can you think of anything that was the most exciting in terms of your success that stands out for you? Or are there a few things that you've done that really stand out as being that moment?
I've had a couple of those moments. Breaking into some of the network operators, getting your first purchase order where it's taken you 5 or 6 years to knock down the door. So the likes of MTN, maybe it took me 6 or 7 years to get my first order out of MTN, not for lack of trying. I used to knock on their door and phone them more times than I can count. So those particular things, because those are massive customers for the future who've taken an enormous amount of time to get. Other things that have stood out as big successes for me was making amends with my father, who I hadn't seen in 13 years. So it didn't create me anything from a business or financial perspective, but it put a piece of the puzzle in my puzzle, which makes you more whole, therefore your business and your life more whole. So that was a big, should I call it, accolade in my world, over and above simply just continuing to do business and navigate my way through the business world. So there have been quite a few fantastic moments. Like I said, getting a customer for me after 7 years, a fantastic moment, but equally big in terms of the achievement for me was, like I said, making amends with my father. Also getting my BCom, because one, I'm dyslexic, and two, I'm really not interested in studying. So that for me was
an incredible achievement.
Yeah, for me was something that stuck out as an achievement, because my abilities in business are greater than my abilities behind a book. So it's more challenging.
What made you want to get your degree when you were already successful in business?
It was a difficult thing to actually do, because I was already successful. I did my degree part-time. It took me 5 years to get a BCom. So I nearly was a doctor of BCom. So I had to switch off my phone and put it down, with the risk, when I was making a lot of money at a very early age, to go and complete something that, in my mind, and still today, has absolutely nothing to do with making any money. I always said I wasn't going to get a job, and even if that studying that I was doing was purely a self-achievement, and it was also driven by negativity, because a lot of people said you can't do it, and it frustrated me. So I actually landed up taking a 4-month break from business, literally switching off my phone, sat at my mom's dining room table and studied for 4 months, completed my degree, switched my phone on the next day, and continued business.
That's actually an amazing achievement, considering you didn't need it. Most people do the degree believing that it's a stepping stone to becoming a maverick or getting a job or landing a position, and you almost did it in the reverse way. Do you think that it has helped you subsequently understand business in a bigger way or a better way, or was it just for personal achievement?
It was mainly a personal achievement. So you'd get a certain understanding. It's not about business per se, but little bits and pieces that you'll come across in your life that I would call more general knowledge than business. Business is learned by doing business. So that can't teach you business, but it can teach you general knowledge, which is always in conversation, or when something comes across and you've read it or heard it or understood it, it's always nicer to be informed than not informed. But I wouldn't say that it would change anything in terms of, for me, an entrepreneur's career. So it wouldn't wouldn't make the journey of being an entrepreneur any easier, or any more difficult, to be honest. So it's for me, it was a personal accolade. I still have nightmares about it, and so I really do. But it simply was a personal thing, and I'm glad I did it personally.
And with the world changing so quickly, and you see this because you're developing hardware and technology, is the relevance still there today, kind of what you learned and what children are learning today? Because it's very hard to keep catching up with technology and the way the world's moving. So for a person coming up, they really need to have both aspects, because is it even really relevant to what happens in the real world?
I don't think entrepreneurship has the relevance, for example, of a changing world isn't necessarily that because I manufacture technological hardware doesn't mean I'm technological, because I'm actually the furthest thing from it. So what I do understand is business creation, entrepreneurship, and building a business and creating revenue with relationships and leverage. So I don't actually understand tech, though my business is a fully technical business. So there are people who are involved in our manufacture process that are technically driven. I understand what the market needs and wants, and the technical people take care of that. So I'm not saying that to be well informed going forward in the future with a changing world is very important. Having said that, entrepreneurship is I think is a simple principle that will remain forever. It's about understanding creation, understanding people, and building businesses around that.
That is 3 very powerful, amazing statements. And I think what you've displayed really well is, as you say, you're not the technical expert, but you've brought in the best technical people. And whatever you're not the best at, you've brought the best in. And so it's really about finding your niche or your passion and being the best that you can at that, and then bringing in people who can do the rest for you.
Yeah, I always say, clever people know what they're not good at. So I'm not, I'm not assuming I'm brilliant at all aspects of the business. Having said that, I do know and understand every aspect of the business, mainly from a growth and financial perspective. From the aspect of tech, I understand the holistic features around the tech, but not deeply involved in the technical aspect. And yes, growing businesses need good people in each division. That would be quite a bad failure or assumption to assume that you would be able to take care of everything. Entrepreneurs, in fact, the more they start getting involved in the day-to-day operational aspect of the business, the further away they go from their essence, and the less effective they become. So it's actually, we all land up getting involved in nitty gritty, but the advice for entrepreneurs is to try and actually keep your mind as an entrepreneur open, because that's actually that's what you started off being, and that's what you need to remain.
And that's brilliant advice, because sometimes I think an entrepreneur, we become so busy in the business of running the business, we forget about the actual business itself and where we wanted to take it. Have you ever come to a crossroads, or if you could look back, would you have done anything differently? Would you have changed anything? Would you have wished to have not done something that you did do?
No, I've done some crazy stuff. I mean, when you say wish not to, I can't say I would have wished not to, because then my story would have less excitement. So would I be more introspective going forward into the next time I decide to give away a Lamborghini, which I did? Probably.
So, where was I?
So, things that you do and you think that was crazy. But if it wasn't crazy, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. So what it really is I probably won't give away another one. But
okay, I'm going to stop you, because I actually love the fact that you gave away a Lamborghini, and I don't think I've met anyone that's actually, except for Oprah, given away a Lamborghini. Tell me some of the other wonderful, wild, crazy things you've done.
That being one highlighted thing, I did a phone.
Who did you give the Lamborghini to? Or why did you give the Lamborghini away?
It was I decided I'm passionate about fighting sports and sponsored a mixed martial arts program called the EFC. So it's like the UFC, but for Africa. So I sponsored the entire show. There was a lot of TV coverage. So I made a phone signed by a big fighter, and it was used as a raffle ticket. And the prize for the raffle ticket was a Lamborghini. So if I gave you the more of the understanding behind the business deal, it makes a lot of sense, except it didn't work. So not all business deals worked.
But some are fun and exciting, and this is pretty exciting.
It was fun and exciting, but I lost a lot of money doing it. But that's part of business.
Of course.
But I'm just trying to think of any other. There's been tons and tons of crazy stuff I've done, but I'm just trying to think of any other
Well, I think giving a Lamborghini away sort of takes the cake. we could end it there if you don't want to.
Yeah,
you can't think of anything offhand.
I almost started off too big to go back. So
I love that, being too big to go back, because if you have that mindset, it actually stops you from ever believing you can fail even when you are failing.
Yeah,
and we all fail
if
forward.
I had listened to all the advice about that one not happening, and I wouldn't have done that one, along with other things. But like I said, I'm happy to have done them, because those are the experiments that entrepreneurs experiment with. Because the forethought in terms of giving away a Lamborghini wasn't just a crazy idea. It was a money-making idea, though it didn't happen. But now it's difficult to hold the reins on an entrepreneur. So actually people within my business are good in, I'd likely not make another one of those mistakes, not because I'm not wildly entrepreneurial, but probably someone else wouldn't let me give away my next car. So...
Because you're just known as a very kind and very generous and giving person. So sometimes it's hard to know where the line is.
Yeah, certain other things. We were launching one of our products, and I was going to sponsor a South African Premiership football club. And then it's about a 6 million rand sponsorship. And my partner actually said, no, don't. Let's just rather hang fire. And I must be honest, that was like one of the sort of the one cautions to the wind that I'm glad. Firstly, I know nothing about soccer, and with like a month later, they were relegated. So I'm quite happy.
So it was a good decision.
Yeah.
So where to from here? What are your dreams? What's the next big thing? Or even the next?
So we're launching. We just launched the AG hashtag with Casper Neovesta, the biggest rap star in South Africa, just as a bespoke product. We do call it bread and butter mobile phones and tablets, which is normal, competitive priced entry-level phones and tablets for the mass market. Along with that, we create exciting products where the market doesn't have it. So AG as a brand will take on endorsement deals, branding deals where the market doesn't have it. So we've done one now, as I mentioned, with the famous rap star. We've actually signed the exclusive rights for the brand Nelson Mandela. So it's the fourth commercial deal the Nelson Mandela Foundation's done. So we've got the rights for mobile phones and tablets for the Mandela brand, which we've called the Freedom brand, the Freedom range.
Incredible.
Which launches in about 2 or 3 months. So that one should be very exciting, followed by launching Google's bespoke product for South Africa.
Yes, tell me about that. We want to hear about Google. Everyone loves to hear anything Google, and especially in South Africa. Tell us about your Google.
So Google's got a software that they manufacture called Android One, which is a software that is... what it is for low-end consumers to get a very good user experience with Android. So really that's what they're trying to achieve, Google launching their Android One software. And they were introduced to us by our chip manufacturers, whose their names are MediaTek. MediaTek's, there's two big chip manufacturers in the world, Qualcomm and MediaTek. MediaTek, I think, being the second biggest, selling around 600 to 800 million chips a year. We are their South African, I wouldn't call it counterpart because they supply everyone, but we their chosen manufacturer for South Africa and Africa. So when MediaTek has opportunities, they bring it to our table to manufacture the product. So with this particular Google project, it was brought to us by MediaTek and Google, and they've finally made a decision to use AG to manufacture the Google product for Google.
What an honor for you to be able to showcase a company like Google in South Africa.
Yeah, it's a massive honor and a very exciting project because for South Africa and the rest of the world, this would be really a fantastic media, a huge media drive for us, and putting our name next to Google and them having the faith in us launching their own product is a very big feather in our cap. They're very discerning in terms of who they choose to launch product for them, and the fact that we're launching their brand in South Africa for them is a great achievement for us and really exciting.
So much exciting, forward-thinking, innovative stuff coming. Before we end, can you just tell us who is Anthony? What do you stand for? What do you live by? Tell us who is Anthony, the heart of Anthony, the soul of Anthony. What is your message to the world, to other entrepreneurs who are potentially negative about what's going on in South Africa, negative about the economy at the moment? What message can you leave to them?
So from a South African perspective, this is just personal, but I do love South Africa. I think there's enormous opportunity. When there's fear, there's opportunity. So if you really are an entrepreneur, this is the time to shine. So if you really truly are entrepreneurial, you can never be afraid of challenge, because that's actually where all the best opportunities come from. And from my own personal perspective, I'm very interested in holistic living. So it's it's a culmination of friendship, family, kindness, giving, along with my business and all the people involved in my business. So it's not a one-man show. This is something for everyone that's been involved. A lot of good people have worked very closely with me over a long period of time. And I hope to continue to bless all the people I have previously and going forward and more. So that's hope the journey that I'm on and will continue to be on with AG, and potentially if something happens in the business of AG in time, maybe an acquisition, I'll continue to hopefully inspire others, help others, and give them guidance along the road.
Thank you for that incredible wisdom. Thank you for your time, your inspiration. Your story is truly one of an expert maverick that everyone in the world should be exposed to and hear, because hearing your story can only motivate somebody else to do something so forward-thinking and out of the box. Thank you, Anthony.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me. It's a really huge honor, and I'm sure that this book is going to be a roaring success because it's created by another very successful person. So give yourself that accolade. So thanks very much. And it's a real honor and privilege to have spoken to you guys and be a part of this.
Thank you, Anthony.
And there you have it. What an excellent interview. Thank you to our guest interviewer, Shireen Richter. She's interviewing people for her book, Expert Mavericks, which is going to be released later this year. We're looking forward to more interviews from Shireen, but until then, like and share, and we'll see you next time on the show.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.